I think the risk of pushing too far is increasing. I mean, we've been, especially in Europe, sort of lamenting a lot about the ECB getting started pretty late, which it did, but once it did everything, I think, pretty right. And the same for the Fed. I mean, the Fed is further along, and I have the consensus view as well. I cannot tell you anything extraordinary here. So 25 basis points now, and then maybe another 25 basis points, and then we're done. It's so hard for central bankers because, you know, you're seeing these volatile movements in the inflation rate, which are driven by exogenous factors. So the inflation was driven up by energy, and now it's driven down by energy. So there's a real risk if energy prices keep dropping that we might actually be seeing an undershoot of inflation.
Okay, so that's one component, and it's one component that so many people got wrong with their transitory view as well. So now driven down by energy, but also at the same time driven up in the opposite direction by some of the demand side factors that were so negated during that, should we say, erroneous transitory era as well. So I hear what you're saying about energy prices. Gas is still coming down. Oil has remained where it is for quite a while now. But what are the demand side factors that the central banks are most worried about?
I think what they're most worried about clearly is a price-wage spiral. And I say deliberately price-wage because it's very clear what came first here. So, you know, once everyone convinced themselves that maybe it's not transitory, it's more permanent, maybe now we find out maybe it's more transitory than we think now. Because as the oil prices go down, and that's combined with the hawkish rhetoric that we see from the central banks, we might actually see a more moderate increase in wage costs in particular. And that's something that the central banks will be watching. And they will be watching increasingly, I'm pretty sure, the core inflation rate, because that tends to lag the headline inflation.
I just want to pick up on that point because, you know, this time could be different. I think we all go back over history and try and make these comparisons. But what we've seen this time around the labour market has been simply extraordinary. The great resignation, the trends that's brought on, and lots of conversations the last couple of weeks in Davos that some industries are still incredibly tight. Others are seeing some improvement. So it's not really even across the board to make those general assessments as to whether the labour market is healing. But when it comes to the overall numbers, you've still got, what, 200,000 jobs created. The Fed wants 150-odd thousand. We're not in that territory yet, are we?
Well, the labour market is very strong on both sides of the Atlantic, and that's what is different this time. So whether we go into a recession or not, I think the US will probably dodge it, the Eurozone slightly, Germany will go into recession. But even if we have near recessionary environment, this is the first time this happens at full employment. So we cannot really expect sort of the concern about, you know, a recession leading to major layoffs. You have lots of headlines of layoffs in the US, but it's really concentrated in the tech sector. Overall, the labor market is very strong. And that's something that the Fed is worried about. And that's why they're trying to give guidance that, and try to counter this speculation about early rate cuts, because they don't want to encourage that the strong labor market will lead to further high wage increases, which will then perpetuate the inflation impetus. So recession or near recession with full employment, that's really a new experience for central bankers and all of us.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.